Might be the nicest introduction I've ever received, Wally. That was sensational. I get to actually tell you a really good news story today. I'm fairly thrilled about this. It's one of those sort of just all-round nice stories about delivering volumes of people back to industry. So I'm going to tell you about why we should actually bother training the next generation of research scientists. I will tell you about how many we are still training and have trained in total. I'll talk about what the CRC offers and how we try and enrich or value add to their training, and what the return to industry is. We've done a little bit of tracking of those humans and just worked out where they've ended up and what they're doing now. And we also need to talk about what's next. So to start with, this is just setting the scene. So this was back in the early days of the CRC. There was a clear need to train the next generation because up to 50% of ag industry professionals were approaching retirement. To be honest, that hasn't actually changed much. So that's probably still the case. At the time, there were about 800 graduates per year chasing 2,000 jobs available. And also the sheep industry specifically was demanding about 222 graduates over the next 5 years. Of course, we're only a very small portion of trying to deliver that. But that was the demand. Very clearly, we needed to train the next generation. So our goal was pretty straightforward. How do we train highly trained professionals? How do we deliver highly trained professionals to optimise industry? So I thought I would just give you a bit of a look at the conceptual vision. If you like, this is a human delivering work to the industry. So this is volume of work right here. And of course you enrol them back at the start of all the CRCs back in the year 2000, and they do a fair bit. And you shouldn't underrate that, by the way, because the PhD students have actually been the engine room of a lot of the research that you've seen presented here over the last 2 days. Now, of course, those people graduate and they go on and do their first job and they get a bit better. See how that line's going up? So they've become better individuals. They're doing more for the same amount of time spent working. And then, of course, they go into the rest of their career and they just get better still. Like they're maturing like a fine wine. So these people are delivering hardcore hours and volumes of information back into industry. But here's what we don't want. We don't want that person getting to the end of that first job and then moving sideways out of the agricultural industry more broadly into something as useless as, well, medical research in this case. What a waste of time. Or even worse still, you lose them out the back end of your PhD, and that's probably more just about, well, we didn't even look after them in the first place. So we do actually have a job to do when we enrol students. So to look specifically at what we've done within the Sheep CRC postgraduate program, we've brought in a whole stack of students. Now, I've thrown up numbers for the beef CRC as well. I like to think of this as a holistic project because these people overlap in what they actually do for the rest of their career. You shouldn't just only look at the Sheep CRC students themselves. Nonetheless, we train 34, 37, and we're finishing off 12 at the moment. Of course, you've got to be a bit careful who you pull in. You can't hide from just simple intellectual horsepower. They've got to have the academic grunt upstairs. So of course you do assess the academic record, there's no problems with that. But at the same time, we're looking for people with a bit of industry experience, both before and after they did their undergraduate degree, because that shows a bit of commitment to the industry, a bit of interest in it. Also, expressed future career aspirations. You've got to be a bit careful there. They can say whatever they like, but at least they've thought about it and have it written down on paper. And crucially, all of the projects that they do have to be perfectly aligned, not marginally aligned, perfectly aligned with Sheep CRC focused research projects. It just automatically hardwires the relevance of their research to a topic of industry importance. So that's the drafting gate on the way in. We then get hold of them and try and value add to their experience. They're getting training from their own unis, but we try and also fill the gaps that the universities might not deliver on. Things like presenting skills to an industry audience or to the media. So unis don't necessarily focus on that sort of stuff. Or even something like research design for improving the subsequent adoption of that research. Sort of like, well, if you go and actually do a research with a farmer on their farm, hey, you might actually find that farmer goes and uses that research. Who knew? Well, the universities tend not to know, but we show them how to do that. And a bit more specifically on scientific writing, which are sort of core skills that all postgrads need. We also run a very focused conference. We bring in a range of high-level scientists. Actually, Rowi's been a true believer. He's sat on that panel almost every year for 19 years that we ran that conference. So he'll provide actually there he is. You might be able to pick James, just there. So those scientists will watch the students in action presenting their research and offer critique in return for what they do, helping to hone their performance. That's been run in combination with the Sheep CRC, MLA, AMPC and APL, so that we expand the pool. Now the best performed students, we've then pushed them in the direction of the CRCA's Association Student Conference. So Tony was representing the CRCA's Association yesterday, and they run a nationwide competition for all the CRCs, and we actually had a couple of finalists that made it all the way through to the top 5. We've never quite taken it out, unfortunately, that competition, but you never know. We've got one more chance, because this year's best performed student, a bloke called Steve Condon, he's got his application in and we'll see how he goes. But the nice story here is that Steve is actually supervised by these two. And this is the knock-on effect that this training program actually has. And of course, those sort of stories don't stop. So Peter Watkins, he's down with CSIRO down south. He's looking at making sure that the boxed beef chemical lean percentage estimates across industry are more uniform. Gordon Refshorgi, he's doing repro research with New South Wales DPI at Cara. Cameron Josie's actually employed within the Sheep CRC meat team as a postdoctoral fellow, helping to drive the research there. Sam Walcombe, so he's at AGBU, he's doing foot rot research, the genetics of foot rot. Karma Kelman, she's an anatomist at Murdoch Uni, and Sam Clark, he's a geneticist at UNE, and both of those people are focusing their research effort on sheep industry relevant topics. And to show you that picture more broadly, and even to put a few faces on it as well, you can see a good portion of these graduates have ended up as researchers and academics. They've ended up in ag extension or as consultants, primary producers in some cases, and some of them as postdocs as well. So that just gives you a bit of a feel for where these people are ending up. Now, you then say, okay, well, you enrolled, what was it, 180 across all of those CRCs. How many of them did actually return as a proportion of what you enrolled? Well, here's the answer. So if we just focus on the Sheep CRC, did they deliver back into industry? Are they retained directly in the sheep industry? Well, for CRC 1 and 2, it's too early to call on that one. It's more than 60% of them are. And there's a portion that have ended up more broadly in agriculture and very few that have been lost. But you know, I don't actually consider it just looking at the sheep industry itself. I like to combine all of this into that picture right there, because quite frankly, people trained in other sectors of the ag industry are delivering back into the sheep industry as well. And if you look at it like that, well, the retention is up over 90% on average. That's not a bad return on investment. Actually, let's talk about return on investment. Here's the amount of work that those people had done post-graduation. So this is years of work for you guys, for the industry. Back in 2013, when I was last showing these numbers, they were up to 34 years of work. How's that? 34! Well, check it out now. We're up to 194 years of work. That's a damn good return on investment. And of course, you throw in this crowd here, well, a fair bit of their output is actually focused on the sheep industry as well, believe it or not. So this is the nice synergy that we've got across all of those industries. Well, what's next? The CRCs were enrolling about 8 people per year from 1994 through until 2019. That has been lost. Throughout that period, MLA were always offering scholarships, and they continue to. They're offering about 10 per year, but be careful here, they're top-ups only. A top-up means you're a student that's got another scholarship, maybe worth $23,000 per year, and you go to MLA and you say, hey, give me another 10. But you've got to walk in with that scholarship, otherwise you don't get this. So I reckon there's a bit of a deficit. We've lost that Commonwealth leveraging that the CRCs offer. And so looking forward, I think this needs to be a focus, and you've seen the return on investment that it delivers. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we've got industry-focused postgraduates, more than 90% of them are remaining in agriculture. They are going directly into those senior scientist and academic positions, so high-level research positions focused on industry, and this is the number that I really like.